Well, we got to take a break there. No, one more minute.
79 usually makes it for these. Richard,
Yeah, I don't know if he was here last meeting or not.
He was at the last one.
He still helps out at the funeral home. He might have duties there, you know, if guys are the chair. Crap together
hold up.
Where do you hit it? There, probably covered the white stuff.
Handy person.
Hell on it. You just get in there. No, not really. Got too much air.
Chair, I'm lucky then. All right, being that I like to use this thing, I'm gonna use it. 6 o'clock, call the meeting of the zoning board to order. Stand for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody got a copy of the agenda for tonight?
Yes.
Look it over quickly.
I move we approve the agenda.
A second.
And moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now we'll look at our previous minutes, 6/11/25. Everyone's had a chance to read those over. Any changes or anything we wish to add or change about them? Now I would entertain a motion to. We approved it.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the previous minutes. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Opening remarks by our administrator.
I believe I got everything printed off that you guys had requested. Last minute Doug asked me to include what Marshall County referenced in theirs as far as stormwater runoff. What they referenced doesn't exist anymore, so I did contact the city of Robbins that had it listed still online. What they use now is the SUDAS, SUDAS, the acronym in front of me, but I did print off the stormwater section of that. It's got an Iowa State Extension header on their website. And then I also included a printout with the website where you can find that, and also the website to the DNR stormwater runoff manual. which was much longer, and I did not print that for you. If you have a specific section, I will, but I didn't wanna do the whole
This is
thing.
one that starts out on general information, right?
Yep, that's the, Iowa State one, or the SUDIS one.
You went through all that.
No, not yet.
Well, you do have some comments to make on it, right, that probably doesn't apply to us. Some of it,
Some of, there were some that, like, city, do a lot of things like retention,
Yeah, a lot of that is urban.
like,
Yeah.
make retention and then later bleed off slowly, but like this. And with ours, with that document that I brought the last time, it apparently from what those are saying, if we have the right instruction, we don't have to have any more runoff than what we had before. And we wouldn't really need all those other kinds of retention devices and so on, except for things like if they have roads going around or things like that where it's gonna come down there and then one to not have an increase, because we still need to do some of these techniques to can't think what it is now where they detain that. We let it off slowly or
the one you gave us last week, Silver Water, that was this one. We want to incorporate all of this, some of this, part of this into our ordinance, or how do we handle it? Or certain parts of it, or?
well, I think what we need to do is that have something in the ordinance where we use techniques that's some of the, there were 5 things in there. I think they had like the spacing, the slope, you know, depending on the slope, depending on the type of cover crop that you've got in there. But the size of the panel, if they're smaller panels, then you've got more drip edges. You're not gonna have runoffs that got 150 feet wide, and then you've got a gutter edge there that's just off on a hard sheet. Well, there are a bunch of different things in there that we just so that it needs to be constructed in such a manner, considering these things. And so that there is no more runoff in water would be if it was in top ground.
Original condition.
And they would need to provide documents, things like this, their studies to show that what they're doing will meet those requirements. And these research papers, things like this will be anyway, probably over time, people will probably new things and the procedures and
We'll have to,
the design of solar panels is, you know, be changing. For us to make their specifications be a little bit tough, I think.
have you got a copy of that with you today?
Seems like that was.
Maybe we should all look at that quick. You guys got it? Both of you?
Yeah.
You said 5 things, now there's 1 through 5 in here with a bunch of,
Carol, I also included the handout that Wade brought last week, so you have an extra handout with stormwater runoff. Yes, so maybe.
You're looking at. Yeah. A bunch of that, but.
Last part of my comments,
everybody else has got them and you don't, you wanna look at mine and I'll look at Carol.
fellas, last part of my comments, I did print off a most current version that Carol sent me of the ordinance, so you
Right.
have that on your stack of paperwork.
Out of the 50 that I've sent you over the last 2 days, because I keep
Yes.
making mistakes.
So, I did, the one I printed off that says draft with today's date, that was the most recent that Carol sent me, so you do have that to work off of as well, including highlighted sections.
And we need to come up with something, put in our ordinance.
I don't think tonight we're gonna get that.
You know,
I think we need to explore this. But to come through tonight and say this is what it's gonna be.
is there any way we can reference some of this? Get it done. Right.
Do we have something in our ordinance already that?
Yeah.
references?
Let's see what we do have for stormwater. That's what we're gonna delve into.
Kind of like this table. Can't we, this thing kind of incorporates everything, water quality, discharge, recharge volume, flood protection, extreme flood protection. It talks about each one of them and then a recommended method for each one.
Where's that one?
This is the one that we just got today.
Oh, the one we got today?
Yes, this is the new one. I just started reading.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Talks about stormwater management plan on page 22 of our ordinance, so,
Yeah.
yep.
What,
Was that under D, Steve, the one you were looking at today?
Under D, yes.
Look, only starts out general information, this one's.
It's more for stormwater. I mean, it's, and that's what we're really looking at here, is runoff. Maybe that's too much. You just say in an effort to minimize erosion and limit any potential damage, the entity will need to mitigate runoff to to adjacent adjoining properties.
22.
22:8.
what are you on there?
Our ordinance that she gave us, that page 22 is where we address solar or stormwater. All right,
It's just a
Is that
tiny,
enough?
number 8. Read through that, Wade, let's see what we think.
This is to minimize any increase. To eliminate any increases, but
Instead of minimizing,
instead of minimizing. And according to, these different ones that I've read, you can accomplish that. And it wasn't like a big cost increase in that. Just what's in that, this cover water, it seems like having the right cover crop and the spacing on the panels, and that's one thing I noticed. One of the ones I was going to, that's all when we're going into Libertyville over by Chicago, was how the panels were spaced out. And some of them where it was more, wasn't as flat on the hill, that the spacing between the panels was wider. It probably was,
because of the slope.
well, I think just so there's more area to, you remember that,
Water.
that picture that had,
Would tiling in between those help or be of any value at all?
Shallower tile.
well, I don't know that's, you're gonna, when you got tile and you've got that, like in areas like that, the roots are just gonna plug it.
Yeah,
That's true.
probably true.
Uh,
Cause you have no,
Yeah.
with perennial crops on it all the time,
That's a good.
perennial cover.
but you want to change that instead of minimize, you want to change that to eliminate.
right, any increase.
Okay. I'm gonna do that right now.
I didn't, looking at it before, I didn't think that, when I'd see those ones like you handed out where they had all the runoff and things like, I didn't think that you could accomplish that, but then after reading some of these different studies, you can't accomplish that.
And then it goes on the next sentence, in an effort to minimize erosion, we should put eliminate erosion there as well. In our ordinance. Probably shouldn't we?
Well, in an effort to eliminate erosion, you're saying?
Yeah, is that a possibility if it's done
That's what
right?
the effort should be.
Do you agree with that?
Right.
Wade?
Okay,
But, you know, making the assumption that it has in the past that there has to be some increase, like if you're putting in an urban area and you got streets and things like that, it's going to be an increase.
Right,
And in this one,
there should
with
be
the
no,
solar panels and the ground underneath, what we've read here, there needs to be no increase. The only thing that isn't addressed would be like the roads, you know, or the buildings that they have. And, you know, that, some of these, ordinances had devoted a lot of it to during the construction, that, you know, you like when they built roads here, they got stuff all over the place. Put these things to keep,
Stop the erosion.
yeah, all the little round things, and they put them in all, someplace, I'm thinking like, why would you need one there? But, I mean, they really are effective with that. And a lot of the ordinances have a specific section devoted to during the construction. And it's kind of like in the road use area and stuff like that, but during construction, they take all the effort to, you know, prevent the stormwater runoff or mitigate it.
But once this is established, and
Once it's
the
established.
cover crop is established underneath it, there should not be, I mean, if you're gonna have 100-year flood, you're gonna have 100-year flood, there's not.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's have no increase.
Yeah,
You'll
no
still
increase.
have, like, if you got 12-inch rain, you're
Yeah.
still have runoff, just like you would before.
Yeah.
But no increase from what it would have been. So, and I don't think we need to mitigate it, 12-inch, and I can remember a 13-inch rain when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there was bridges replaced and.
Mm-hmm.
93, we had some of the 11 inches in a couple days or a day, I remember that.
There were culverts under the road where it opened up.
The culvert was gone.
Yeah, drive over the hill and whoa.
Yeah.
Put the brakes on.
So, you know, those would still happen, but they need to be any worse than what it would be if they weren't there. That's what we're getting to. So it's just, during, and then that was one thing that kind of brought it home for me. I hadn't really thought about that part of it so much until reading some of the other ordinances, how much they had devoted to during the construction, time period during the construction, because you'll have big parking areas where you have, you know, all the machinery parked.
They'll have lay down areas, they'll have.
So that needs to be thought through when they're doing just like you do when there's road construction. They're working on 30 down there,
All right,
doing all that.
this, ours does say with details of measures to be taken during and after construction in the SFER. But
In construction and ongoing operations. Yeah, we just change that, minimize,
eliminate,
eliminate,
both of them.
yeah.
Why don't we go back to page 1?
That might do it, because
Right there?
if they meet that criteria, they'd be using all
Have
those
to
other
do that.
complicated.
Okay, so I've got that already changed in the ordinance, so I wanna make sure this makes sense, and it says in an effort to eliminate erosion and limit any potential damage the entity will need to mitigate runoff to adjoining properties from excessive flooding.
Where's that one?
That's that last sentence of that,
Number 8 there.
Sounds a little wordy.
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
in an effort to eliminate erosion and limit any potential damage the entity
We'll
will
need
need.
to mitigate
I
runoff.
wonder,
We'll need to mitigate runoff to adjoining properties from excessive fines. Forward TO in there, we're doing that.
mitigate, need to, I don't, just sounded weird.
It did, but I think, was that work to put just the
I
word
think so, yeah.
TO to mitigate it?
So if we
Check on this said to mitigate, they didn't like it either.
change those to eliminate, to minimize it.
Yep.
All right, we'll need,
And then mitigate, and that's something that like during construction or some of those things, you might have to do some of that. A lot of that is just some stormwater retention. You build a
little pond and little.
Yeah.
Well, it does say, you know, stormwater management plan prepared by a licensed engineer, which details, so they're gonna have to have a detail,
Right,
so. Okay,
let's go back to page one and start proofreading it again, I guess. We'll just go through this 34 pages tonight,
next 10 minutes.
yeah. That's all right, and then we'll kind of get this thing, go through it with a fine tooth comb tonight.
Do you wanna go through your definitions before you move on to proofreading?
Oh. Right, some of that after page one, aren't we?
well, the only thing that we changed on page, well, after page one, where we changed nothing, page two was we put in a limit of 500 acres will be allowed for commercial solar.
Right,
Is that good?
yes,
Okay,
I think so.
I'm gonna take it out of the highlight.
What do you think, Steve?
Well, just a limit of 500 acres will be allowed for commercial solar within Tama County.
There you go.
You have that worded that way on page 4. I don't know if you want it in 2 different places, because if that ever changes, you need to make sure you update both places.
There are a lot of ordinances where they do because it's a different part, you know, like one is definitions and another one is in, like, when you're doing
When you do the actual.
doing the application.
I think it's something better to put within Tama County.
Within Tama County, yeah, I like that too.
All right, so are we at the definitions now? Okay,
Yeah, I'm trying to find them.
so we're on page 3.
I got one change on page 2.
Okay,
Under C, we have, this land will be accordance with CSR of average of 60. There's adequate land available in Tama County with CSR less than 64.
You should put 60 there.
60 there, I should be
So
able
we're
to.
consistent.
where, okay, say that again.
Okay. It's
Bottom of page 2, Carol.
bottom of page 2.
Okay, right here, and that should be 60.
60, yeah,
Okay.
that ought to be a 60.
Right.
Then we're all in agreement.
Okay. Okay, done. Okay, so wait, this is more of a question for you. The ones in green, which show up really green on your copy, not quite as green on mine.
That's another definition.
Well, you thought this one, I don't know, you said it matched, you thought it matched with B, where it says solar collector, and you said cluster of solar arrays, and I don't know if you wanted to use one or the other.
But I think we could put them both in, because both of them are used in different parts of the
Okay.
ordinance.
So you,
Places
Okay.
it says solar collector, and some places it says a cluster of arrays.
so you wanna go ahead and just leave that?
Well, I could make it a separate
Okay,
definition, like,
Done.
solar collector is B, and then cluster of solar collectors would be the C,
C.
and everybody else gets shoved down.
So down.
okay, yep,
In a
it did
year.
that, it did that automatically, so,
Yeah,
What's that?
my program does that automatically when I go to the next one, it changes all the things. I can't get rid of all this.
so we read through 3 and go on to page 4, show where we're at. If anybody has changes that they made while they were at home, speak up, please.
Okay, so wait again on page 4, letter J, that was solar energy utility scale generation. And that's where we put that other limit of 500 acres. But anyway, then solar farm energy, you had said on there that kind of matched J, but do you want those just 2 separate things?
Yes.
Okay,
And part of the, we went through and rewrote some of those different sections. Probably use one definition or the other, but that's what's in those different sections now. So with the definitions,
Like green becomes K, all right, Carol?
yes,
Yeah.
they all hit, well, write it out?
Yeah.
Do you change that for the time down to the roommate of that expiration?
Anything now that's in capital letters came from the definitions that we got from Wade. I just copied and pasted them into here.
Anybody at the top of page 6 yet?
Yep.
So that becomes P up there on top, doesn't it?
Right.
Administrator.
That's where I,
Oops.
Yeah, it's all read through occupied dwelling, so we're satisfied with that. Pretty well covers it, doesn't it? Occupied dwelling. I think it looks good. Carol, will fire to you.
What?
Occupied dwelling look all right to you, the
Yeah.
definition. Then on 7, participating property would become AA again, right?
Yes. And then that's highlighted because Wade, I think you had a question about it. I don't know, that was highlighted in your notes. So I left it highlighted in the definitions.
kind of, it's the same thing that I think is. One of those kind of go like the dominant estate, so on, but I think. The word participating property and non-participating property are used. The ones I highlighted are ones that are used in those other sections. Of definitions, so that's.
So we need them.
I have a comment on your occupied dwelling. Tama County ordinance, regular ordinance, doesn't allow for more than one, dwelling on a parcel, so there would never be more than one occupied dwelling. So if you wanna have it be more like farm buildings, you know, shops that are being used, you might just have a little dissonance in how people read that.
In that first sentence, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for current B, it says a building that contains one or more dwelling units intended for residential use. So I don't know if that means it's an apartment building out on unincorporated land. I don't know that anyone has.
What about, where you have 2 houses on the same farm?
Yeah.
So, you know, where a father has a house and the son builds right, kind of on the same property.
It would have to be a separate parcel because our ordinance doesn't allow it.
Guess there's a few amount of ordinance out there.
Yeah.
Cause you do see
You can
that,
leave it, it's fine, it's just.
Yeah.
kind of contradicts the ordinance.
Well, why don't I just highlight that sentence? And we can. If need be, we can. Come back to that.
I mean, you could shorten it to just be a building intended for residential use.
I don't know what to think of that, cause like I said, there are farmsteads that have 2 houses on them.
If you do that, it would cover both if they're
Yeah.
for residential use.
I think I'd leave it alone.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Apologies.
Oh, that's all right. Next. Man, with GG structure. Okay.
This one.
What about BB?
Pardon me?
Under this B sighting permit? Is that where we wanna, I mean, is that similar to what the $2,500 permit that was going to be? You know, we were gonna charge them a written certificate that once approved by the county authorizes the developer to proceed to the construction of the solar energy farm.
Ours is like for application, isn't it? Our $2,500.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe that's two separate things then. Ours is just with the application,
I think so.
2,500, and this siting permit gives them the ability to go forward.
I believe so. Does that sound right, Laura?
Dan?
Page 7, where it
Yeah, I
says
just found it.
citing permit. That's different than an application permit.
That'd be
isn't it?
different than an application permit, yes.
Just wanna make sure.
That's once approved by the county.
Application permit. Need to create a definition for that.
I wouldn't think so.
Huh?
I wouldn't think so.
There's a
Pretty well
second.
defines itself.
Huh?
Pretty well defines itself, I think, but
Yeah, if you're gonna apply for a permit, you're gonna pay $2,500.
yeah.
Unless you wanna add something that says this is separate from the application permit in your definition.
Oh, a citing permit, you mean?
Unless, you could either do that here, or you can have, I know you have it in the other section under review and permitting. That'd be the only thing I'd say. If you don't wanna do a separate definition of application permit, because I think it's obvious too, but you can say citing permits different than application permit. As long as you have that somewhere, if you have it other workplaces in the ordinance, you should be okay,
Yeah, we've
but
got,
I'm also not a lawyer, so take me for 100%.
we'll let the lawyer handle that then. I think that's a great point. Let the lawyer, yeah, I mean, he gets paid big bucks. He gets paid a little more than we do anyway.
We gotta have something for him to do.
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about citing.
You got the GG, you said.
Oh, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. Structure. Yeah, I wrote over the top.
BB.
Oh, I should have been CC, you're right, DD. So we're done with FF, right?
Yes.
My mistake, good call, Wade.
Okay, section 3, over 64 or 60.
Yeah, there's a 64 CSR.
We need to be 60 there, don't we?
Under 2, yeah, under
Yeah, CSR 2 needs to be
CSR 2 and
60.
Comment from side here, page 4, where we have highlighted solar farm energy system, the SFES. Did you make that a separate line item?
Yes. That green,
Yeah,
that's K.
Thursday. Okay.
Yeah,
Just double checking, I missed that conversation, thank you.
okay, so just fix that 64 to a 60.
CSR 2.
Yep, fix that too.
Okay.
On 11,
Yeah,
1,000 feet from occupied residential areas. We don't have a definition for occupied residential areas, do we?
quite well.
That, I think that occupied dwelling, occupied residential
That was
areas.
gonna be two, I think it's two separate things, because we
Yeah.
did have occupied, what do we have, occupied residential? What's it say?
It's just areas.
Yes,
Right.
that was what we originally had there. We did not have a definition for it. And I think we wiped it out with the occupied dwelling, but I think you're right, it's two different
I
things.
think that's one of the things that we had quite a bit of discussion about, that there's a occupied residential area, it was the house and the yard and the yard. So, and I think we should,
How do you define it?
Define it.
have a definition for that, so.
Something
Just
to
don't
do
want
with,
somebody saying their yard's a half mile or their, you know,
Right.
you know, that's.
cause where my mom
Where-
lives, it's, gosh, it's a couple hundred yards from one end of the yard to the other, so that's 600 feet right there at least. So do we define it? Do we define it as,
1,000 feet from occupied residential area.
so we gotta define occupied residential areas, what it mean with all the buildings that are encompassed in them?
Well, with those machine sheds and things like that that are out back or bulk houses, that is, really, it's the area you and your family spend their time, that
Right.
be in the garden and where the deck is, the picnic table and.
1,000 feet gives you a long ways, that's,
Not quite a quarter mile,
yeah.
20% of a mile, whatever.
But it wouldn't just be the edge of the house, it would be the yard and,
If you got a shop out there that a guy spends a lot of time in, you'd wanna include that.
yeah, cause that's kind of a living area.
Can we stick any of this on you and say at the discretion of the zoning
No.
administrator?
Cause you don't know
Maybe
if you want the
just-
discretion of your other administrators.
that's trying to define it right now, but say define, put a definition in for occupied residential area.
If I remember right, you were considering this occupied residential area as a compromise between going off the property line for the
Yeah.
setback versus the house or dwelling for the setback.
Right,
Because as Wade said, you know, you've got your gardening, you've got your sheds, you've got your,
Everyone's different.
right.
The
yes,
living area.
Versus like if somebody owns a parcel and there's no buildings on it, there's no animals living on it, you don't, you know. That'd be different than your,
You know, it wouldn't be our entire parcel,
Is that something to ask the lawyer?
but we do need to define it.
I don't know how you do.
The setbacks, I think we're all,
Google have to find, Carol, is that what you're wondering?
I go to ChatGPT, I go to Google, I just,
Give it a try.
okay, first thing that comes up, a geographic location where residential properties are actively inhabited by their owners or tenants. It's essentially a neighborhood where people live in houses, apartments, or other dwelling units. A residential area refers to a zone or area specifically designated for housing, encompassing various kinds of dwellings.
What was the first one you said?
Uh,
Or you lost it?
no, that's the first thing that came up. This was the AI one. A geographic location where residential properties are actively inhabited by their owners or tenants.
Geographic area where,
Residential properties are actively inhabited by their owners or tenants.
I kinda like that.
if you are having trouble, you could do it as a property line with the option for, you know, a good neighbor easement for a shorter setback. Kind of how they do the turbines right now, but,
What do they do? Laura?
you have to have an easement with the neighboring
Owner of the.
parcel to have a shorter setback. So I don't know if it's an outright easement or if it's a, like, good neighbor easement with special. I haven't seen one, but from what I've looked at from previous researching, Andrew, if you remember any of those? No,
You know, when you say actively inhabited, that would include a garden, wouldn't it? And
Yeah.
a shop, a machine shed where you've got a
You and
shop.
your kids are spending the time, yeah.
And cause say you got a house here, and you got a garden way, you know,
Well,
several hundred feet or 200 feet away from your house, technically, they should be measuring from the end of that garden because that person's gonna be out there. What were you gonna say?
It's just that it's gonna be so hard to, you know,
Cover every
well, yeah, I mean,
situation?
well, that to, when you get into legalese, if they wanna go, you know, they want a definite definition, then it's really gonna be
yeah,
hard.
somebody goes down the end of the field and plants some flowers, they say, okay, that's.
It's
my
what you,
garden.
what you mow, and, you know, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how you're gonna,
I don't think there's.
I don't.
Well, we define it, really, the supervisor who's making the decision will decide,
Exactly, yeah.
but we can define it, we can
Okay,
make the definition that that's the.
so I'm just gonna put in what, that first thing we found, I'm gonna highlight it and then,
Geographic area
yeah,
or residential. Property owners are actively.
let somebody else tell us if they like it or don't like it.
Yeah. And that's gonna be a definition of occupied residential area.
Yep, so that'd be GG.
you guys are doing the recommendation, this is not the final thing people will be
Right,
voting and yelling at you for, so.
True.
Do your best for recommendation and somebody else can keep it or change it as
Sounds good.
their advice.
Go down to screening.
Screening, yeah, you have a comment there?
Yeah. There should be determination of the screening requirement made by the Solar Access Regulatory Board as part of the application review process based on the surroundings of the solar farm site, including adjacent to nearby surrounding land uses, topography. I would put in there and input from the area residents. There may be some people that don't want the screening, they'd rather have it lower, not have it, or a bunch of big trees.
Trees,
I told you, about the experience I had going over there where was the?
Halo.
Oh,
And going up and talking to this farmer up on the hill, and they put all these there, and when I talked to another farmer, and he said, well, I'd rather have that than have built houses out there, and it didn't. But people have different views of it,
right.
and you're gonna live there, and we come in there and say, okay, we're gonna put up all these trees around in front of it. And I'd rather just have it down and not have the screening and have it, the extra distance.
So what words were you gonna use there, Wade?
Well, I would just put, and input from the area residents, when they, cause what the board, the screening requirements will be made by the board, so it's basically, they're gonna look at it and see what it is, part of the application review process based upon the surroundings of the solar farm, site including adjacent or nearby surrounding land uses and topography. And then I would have an input from the residences.
How about the neighboring residences, from the neighboring residents?
Or however, yeah, word, the
What do you
people
think?
that it's, they're living there, it's gonna affect.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to,
From the immediate neighbors, or the closest
I
neighbor?
would say immediate. Yeah, you wanna,
We have places in here where when we're gonna put this thing out, we notify everybody within 5 miles or whatever it is, you know.
Input from the closest neighbor?
based on community input? Local community input, I don't know.
And maybe
Input from
nobody's
the local
interested,
community?
but there's,
We got 4 brains there, we got 5, we ought to come up with something.
well,
That might be the best.
right now, what's that?
Cause you may have two neighbors that totally disagree.
Yeah, input from the
Well, then the board makes
local
the decision.
community.
Local residents.
Yeah, from the local residents, I like that better.
Right, and the board will make the decision then, you know, we'll have. input,
Right.
Yeah, from there.
It can vary. a
That
little bit.
was,
At least they get a chance
yeah, some of
to have
those
some input on it.
Yes.
very, you know.
What's an NEC, top of 13? Compliance Security Defense, what's NEC stand for? Does anybody know?
National Electric Code, no, anyway.
I was wondering about that. I went through it night before last.
It's probably the same fences that they put around all their transformers.
That was an electrician, and you see it was National Electric Code.
Yeah.
Well, that's good enough for me then.
Yeah.
Work.
Uh, 7, I'd like to push a little harder on keeping the connections underground, like with most wind farms and everything like that, they're underground, period. And
How would you change, Wade? Set up, just take out the word reasonable, or just an effort should be made?
no, or just, anyway, we could look at one from a solar ordinance, just that, utility connections shall be underground.
Well, they're gonna want it underground because they're not gonna want it, the maintenance factor is gonna be huge on that, so that.
Yeah, maybe we don't need to address that. Since they're gonna want it that way anyway.
But I think we need to, in solar ordinances, you see that, they designate that the utility connects, you know, from like one windmill to the other.
On, you mean wind or you mean solar?
Well, on the wind one, they do, and I don't see any reason why the solar can't do the same thing. Within all the ones that I've seen, within the fenced in area, everything's underground. Then there's no point putting up other big pipe lines going over here to the utility, they can just pull that in underground too. But whenever you leave the word in there reasonable, the people
Yeah.
doing it are gonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna be unreasonable
Yeah,
sometimes.
can't do
Oh, no,
that.
this is reasonable, and this is my excuse, and
You wanna look at the last sentence too?
Yeah.
Change that already?
Excluding overhead underground transmission lines. Yeah, let's,
Don't we need another word in there, like overhead or underground? Or remove a word?
Makes you wonder, like, when this, cause most of this was copied from that Des Moines one.
this, I think this was still original Tama County.
Well, they had to get the original one from somewhere too.
They stole it from somebody else, yeah.
I was thinking that I was thinking most of this was not ours anymore.
we just say all utility connections. Solar installation shall be underground.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
If you want, you can throw in a caveat, you can request a variance from the Board of Adjustment, and they could make that review, they could plead their case why that specific one would need a variance.
Well, that could go with anything in here.
Right.
I don't know, if we need to say that in here, but
I mean, at the end, you'd want to throw in a section for variances, but yes, it could, if you want to start with saying all need to be there.
just like the 500 acre.
Yep, then the variances could take place with the Board of Adjustment as needed, so it still isn't a final absolute.
How about we stick in, all components used for collection, conversion, and storage of energy shall be contained underground within the leased and fenced solar farm.
Where'd you get that from?
That's,
That sounds good.
What?
Where'd you get that from? You pull that out of the sky or?
Yeah, that's, well, just gonna fit it in.
It sounds good.
yeah,
Now you're gonna have to repeat it for Carol, right?
nope,
You got it?
I just,
She's good.
Wow.
if I have it in front of me, I can do it, and that was just adding one word. Okay, so now this says, all utility connections from the solar installation shall be underground as dependent upon soil conditions, shape and topography of the site, distance to connection with other electrical grids, all components used for the collection, conversion, and storage of energy shall be contained underground within the lease and fenced solar farm,
Gotcha.
excluding overhead underground transmission line.
Excluding overhead underground transmission.
That doesn't make sense.
No, that makes sense.
Just leave that out.
Excluding overhead transmission lines. Just get the underground out.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
So how does it read now?
So now it says, that last sentence says, all components used for the collection, conversion, and storage of energy shall be contained underground within the leased and fenced solar farm, excluding overhead transmission lines.
I would put the excluding overhead transmission line, just take that off. But I would just put all components used for collection, conversion, and storage of energy shall be.
Contained underground?
Isn't a solar panel a component for collection?
But they've gotta hook up to the overhead lines.
Well, that's that, but they can go underground to it, and they go up. That's the ones I see would do that. They to the transformer.
But are they talking about these transmission lines being the ones that are already there?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's the
So-
ones that are already there, but
So then that's probably why that's in there, excluding what's already there.
if they're putting up one here, they're gonna run overhead lines over to it. The windmills, they run them underground. There's a big transmission line, but they go underground and go over to the windmills.
Well, and that's what this means. It says that anything that the solar company is using, they're going to have it underground, but that excludes anything that they're going up to a overhead transmission line. I think that's just what that means, right?
Excluding existing overhead transmission.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Put that in.
Excluding existing.
There you
I
go.
like that.
If it's already there.
Okay.
Now, page 14.
And then, we took out the reasonable effort.
Right.
Yes.
It's gonna.
Yep, I took that out and we just have all utility connections.
Floodplain, I can take a 500 out of there. Make it 100.
Okay.
Well, and I wouldn't even close to putting in 100-year floodplain, except I think the state may have requirements on that. Yeah. I was looking through some of those ones that were referenced.
So just take out the word.
Take out the 500 here.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
100-year floodplain. Or 500-year. Now these are kind of a little tough. It's gonna make a weed control plan for the entire, 30 years, things change. If you had a weed control plan, it could change over time, but.
Cause some
Yeah,
things
so
are.
you're too ugly. control.
In the old days, they would have put it all in Multiflora Road.
Back to the floodplain one, it does, Iowa does not have anything, but the DNR might have a say about floodplain, so I don't know if you wanna reference solar panel permitting needs to be approved in a floodplain for DNR regulations. Something similar to that.
How would you word
In a mapped 100-year DNR flood, DNR floodplain. DNR
it? Designated.
designated flood.
Okay, a mapped 100-year DNO. Designated. Designated floodplain.
I know DNR requires permits for anything in a floodplain. I'm sure that would include solar installations.
They have a lot of power, don't they?
Look at it over here, it says Article 5 permitting and review. We're gonna follow the same procedure to consider Article 5, that would be Section 5. And on the first.
Going back,
Yeah, we got Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, Section 4, now we're gonna get into the permission review.
it should be section 5.
Section 5.
All right. But I think that was just a copy of it from whatever we put it from.
And then this is where it kind of gets confusing, because in every previous one, we'd have a section. And then section. And then we have a.
The other sections don't have like, they don't have a, well, section 4 does not have a, section 3 is a solar access regulatory board, section 4 does not have a title. And then section 5 goes right into permitting and review.
Maybe we need a first section. The original Tama County.
Variety is the spice of life, okay? We could have a little variety.
Well, okay, to be fair, whenever we have cut and paste, that, before I threw it into like an AI thing to kind of straighten it up, some of our things were thrown in, said article, some said section, and then they all had different ways of
Category.
well, that's what, how don't you call it, like the bulleting, how they bullet it,
Right.
What is it?
yeah. So that will be up to Laura to figure out.
So you do have a section 4 on page 10.
Yeah, it just doesn't have a title. Like, section 3 is a certain thing, section 5.
You could call it application requirements. That's what your first paragraph talks about. Pursuant to the powers conferred by Iowa Code, blah, 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 before board issues any decision approving the application, the following shall be submitted with the application under the code.
I think that's fine then.
Application submission, or,
Requirements.
submission requirements or application submission materials, some version of that.
Maybe just application requirements.
Well, it's not all the it's what they need to submit
Follow, yeah.
with their application. So it's talking about site plans, the height, the setbacks. All the other.
What if we just call it requirements?
Construction guidelines.
Yeah, there you go. That work?
Which some of those then might not fall under that though, because utility connections would not be something, unless you submit your utility connection plan.
Here's the old original Tama County, it was.
What did you say for section
Everything else
4?
fits under that.
Section
We're
4.
working on that.
Right.
It didn't have anything?
No, this is the old
Well, same
original.
with signage, that's not really,
Yeah.
like you don't
Just
submit
had section
sign.
4.
All the other ones had.
You could
had
submit your
time.
sign plan.
Section 4 didn't.
Maybe it,
Section 3. Section 4. Person powered.
Maybe we don't have to have a title by it, just leave it section four.
Construction,
Or you trying to come up with one.
construction guidelines. And requirements,
For application,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, then that would go into the permitting and review procedure after you have all your application steps.
Let me get that.
That's application, that's permitted review.
Construction guidelines and requirements, that what we. Said, huh?
Okay. Down to 5.
So we don't have any other articles though, do we?
I don't think so. That was
For
just,
that is section, so then we
yeah,
have all sections and then we jump to article 4, so that would be section 5 instead of article
Yeah.
4.
yes,
Okay,
And I think that further back there, when we get into,
and unbold it because it's the only one that's bolded.
road use,
A lot of the stuff in the permitting and review seems like duplicate from what they need to have in the application section. Which I'm okay with as long as that's what you guys intend. But I know sometimes reading ordinances, if you have duplicate stuff, you're like, well, why is this here? But I already read this, is it different?
But this, yeah, I don't know. Didn't anticipate it. This has got a lot more detail to it, where's the energy going, what's the total size of the project? What's the timing of the project? But I agree with you, part of this is already addressed in it.
So we could make certain sections, either the first one with the application be more of a list of what you need to include. And then the permitting part being like, well, we're reviewing this from your application, you need to have all this extra. Of the stuff that we're reviewing.
You need to have all these ducks in a row.
Right, so then that might also cut down on some of the wordiness that you guys are feeling in certain areas. We may want to go back and add the BESS to your definitions. On page 19, it talks about it multiple times. And I'm not entirely sure where it explains what it is.
Is it the batteries or is it something else?
First time it's mentioned on that page is 3A, the description of the proposed arrays and any BESS or substation.
You know what it is, Wade?
And then it mentions it, 3B
BE.
and.
better battery energy storage system.
Okay,
So we
need
need to,
that definitions?
I think that should be
You should write it out once.
Yeah, the definitions.
Yeah.
okay, that was one of the definitions I had that I deleted, because I didn't think it was used in there.
What it is.
okay,
Will it be HH,
yes,
BESS?
And I'll reorganize those alphabetically eventually, so it won't stay that HH, but.
Yeah, yes.
okay, so the ESS refers to battery storage. Do I need to define that anymore?
No,
Okay,
that's fine.
all right. What page are we on?
19.
Here's a definition, of battery storage.
Just solar,
I think she's got it.
it's some, like,
She got it.
battery and storage systems are totally different, like,
Well, this one
Ordinance
says
in less
it's a
places.
technology that stores electrical energy and batteries for later use. Do you wanna use this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
it'll be consistent then with,
all right. Go do that.
I know a lot of counties do have battery storage as a whole separate ordinance, not included with this.
Okay. So,
that is something I think we need to address it. Batteries really increase the productivity of it, but they really need to be. There's been some bad.
It needs to be well managed, yeah.
Right. And then the cleanup afterward, that it does it. Yeah.
And they burn
I don't know,
all
we need
the
to-
time.
Need to address that, but. You're really increase the
Did you
productivity.
ever see some of those Teslas that got flooded and caught on fire? I mean, they just
Mess,
melt.
oh jeez.
Well, some of these huge batteries where they've consolidated them and they haven't spread them out. Some of the solar field, I mean, the battery here and one here and one, and they'll keep them separated. But there are a lot of them, if they load them up, places like where they're making bitcoins and stuff like that. Those would be,
Did I jump ahead of you guys? What page are you on for review?
19 or 20, number one. 20, you've got another one of those enter in document location on number 4A. So I'll make this plan.
Do we have LUSDS defined somewhere? LUSSES? No, the SES is a definition, but the LUS part. Don't remember that. That's on page 18.
it's not in, you're gonna have to actually. What is it?
US dash
dash SES.
SES.
Trying to find a definition. I wonder if that's something we pulled from another.
Right, it's up page 20 where we first see it, right?
Page 18,
Wait, thing.
18B.
I see it.
There are a lot. Can you do a word find for that in your document?
Maybe?
and all the definitions.
You think that until you read it through and you're going, wait a second.
Hey,
No, this is certainly not it. Medical imaging for your lungs. That's the first thing that came up.
Okay, utility scale solar energy set, US SES.
Yeah, LUS.
The SES part is in our definitions, it's not the first part, the LUS.
US, yeah, I know. Lafayette Utility Systems.
Pull anything from the Lafayette ordinance, guys.
Louisiana, we didn't pull anything from there. Louisa County, yeah, is that a possibility?
No, I got that Lafayette one too. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
Does that come with the original, or is that something you guys brought in?
I'm thinking that's,
Had to be brought in.
I think that's from the Des Moines.
Union County?
Oh,
So looking for that, I did come across on page 16, we have a US dash SES. I don't think I saw that anywhere either. Did you guys already fix that one?
What page?
Page 16 has a US dash SES.
well, that could have come from, that shows up on this Union,
Union County one.
yeah, but it doesn't say.
I wonder if US is like utility scale?
Oh, yeah, utility scale solar energy system is US LE.
Yeah.
So what
So we
would,
need to add that to the.
So it's LUS.
is that large utilities? No. I mean, our utility scale would already mean,
I don't see anything under it. I've been here at all.
oh,
I'd say add another definition or a section to. The one printed is I don't know if you added any before that definition, the I. Solar energy utility scale generation. Even just a sentence says sometimes referred to as US dash SCS.
where are we at? What were you just talking about?
The printed page 4, section I, you could just add a sentence instead of a whole separate definition. Just something like, sometimes referenced as US dash SES, for the utility scale. Or maybe not, maybe that's not the best one to put it in. That was the first one that saw a utility scale though. You could just make it a whole set.
I'm just gonna add it to definitions for now, even though we don't quite.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
we
US
can
is.
figure it out.
find it eventually.
So have we ever come to an agreement on the LUS?
Not yet.
Well, it's gotta be something,
It could be the Louisa utility scale. If you pulled it some from the Louisa.
oh,
Right?
dear God, we have too many ordinances.
Abbreviation.
All right, I know you can.
That's the name of the project. LUS SES.
Is it?
A landowner who has not signed a binding agreement with the applicant, developer, owner of the LUS SES project in Union County, Iowa. So that must be the name of the,
Then I think we need to change that.
yeah, I'd take that out of there then.
So that'd be page 20 and what was the other? page?
18. 18 is LUSSDS.
Hang on.
Try to save the day, Steve.
Could leave it as just SES for solar energy system. Or you could go with the SFES, the solar farm one, use that acronym a lot.
All right, so page 20,
And 18.
18.
18, that's what they're for. 18. All right, so should I just take out LUS and just leave it as SES? Okay,
Yes, I think that worked.
all right, she'll do that.
It's also on page 21 after you get through 18 and 20.
Okay.
They wanted to F.
Yeah.
How many got it?
All right, I got both of those. Is that it then? Or did you say there was another one?
Something on page
There's
20.
only 21, did you get 21?
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
Page 20 where it says number 4, soil maintenance plan. Which describes vegetation, planting and other soil maintenance practice to be used on the premises of an SFPS during and after construction. Can we just end that with a period there? And not leave that in order to demonstrate plans of evidence of that?
Well, we'd have to get rid of the parentheses there.
What, okay, what page are we on?
20.
One,
Okay,
number 4.
because my document on here is changing because we've added things in, so now I've got to figure out where we are in here. Okay.
Would that work, Laura? Just put a period after construction and eliminate in order to demonstrate plans of evidence of manner and document location. Get rid of all
There has to be a reason that got put in somewhere. I doubt you guys pulled that out of there. Usually when it's extra wording, it's from somebody's lawyer, right?
Okay, I finally found it in my document. So what are we looking at that's wrong?
Well, we're trying to decide what to do with that, or it says in order to demonstrate compliance with requirements of any document location.
Where we said no, if during the runoff, that page there.
Is that?
It could be meaning to demonstrate compliance with the requirements listed below and then
Yeah.
starting with A, B, C, D, E. Is that what you
Yes.
guys are meaning?
That might be better, just say with the requirements listed below.
Miss School Teacher, what do you think? Am I on the right track with that? Will that work?
Demonstrate compliance of mitigating erosion. Cause that's what we're trying to do here.
You know, so it may be, the document page would be just the one where we said no runoff, no.
Yeah.
So what, okay, document compliance, right? What did you say?
Let me think a second.
It does talk about controlling weeds, chemicals, solvents.
Could be requirements of the NRCS.
Says list the NRCS. They also list the DNR down there too.
Yeah, we have DNR listed down here.
So then you could just say demonstrate compliance with the requirements listed below.
That's what I'm thinking, I'll probably do that.
So that we need to add DNR and NRCS to our definition.
Yeah.
In order to demonstrate compliance with requirements of those listed below.
Requirements listed below.
Yeah.
Requirements listed below. That works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The simpler, the better.
Yes, keep it simple.
Did you add anything like Wade was talking about referencing the erosion, why we have this land maintenance plan?
Where did we make that change?
We were talking about in order to demonstrate compliance with preventing erosion, isn't that what you're talking about?
Yeah, where did we make that change, whether you know what increase?
Oh. That, go back to the beginning. Okay.
Next page, 22. Right up. Just another page after where we're working now. You got the eliminate instead of minimize.
Oh, okay, yeah, we
Right.
did do that, we did do that. I was thinking
Right.
at the beginning.
Okay, 21F, you got that? You got that thing there, don't you?
Oh, I will now.
Okay, good.
There.
So are you moving the stormwater management plan up to be next to the soil maintenance plan?
8.
I don't know here.
Read section 5C, hit number 8.
Could leave 8 where it's at, couldn't we? Or
Yeah, I mean, leave 8 where it is, but can reference it then with number 4 or whatever.
yeah,
That would be, that's what we're reference, that location.
You can move stormwater before the soil maintenance plan. Since 4 is so big.
big, you said? Or
4
vague?
is so big, you
Yeah.
move 8 ahead of 4. They still be next to each other.
Where these 2 lines are at over here. Or yeah, Steve,
Not there,
you ahead of us?
yeah, just over there.
Can we leave it alone, Laura, where it's at?
Just do whatever you want. I do think on page 23, we need to change board of supervisors to match earlier where you talked about solar, was it regulatory board? Solar,
Or I like ready, if you put 8 right ahead of 4. And then 4 just references it. Does it follow it? And we're saying compliance with the preceding section. The preceding article or section, whatever you call it.
Okay, so put it where? You think
Okay.
ahead of 4?
you can't say preceding would be,
For that.
so if you're in the stormwater runoff, you wanna say the following section. And then you go into the soil maintenance, but if you're in the soil maintenance and you're talking about stormwater, then you would say the preceding section.
So we're gonna put 8 in front of 4, all right?
Yeah, and then 4 would just say, is demonstrate compliance with the requirements of the above section. Or the previous section.
I would maybe be specific in case we move stuff around again, so we're not going, what section were we referencing?
Okay, so I've just moved it, but what did you want to? So, it should be 8, this is not gonna change. So that has to be 4.
Water management is ahead of soil maintenance.
This will be 5.
In general, I would not use words like the preceding or the following section
Yeah.
unless it's following directly with A, B, C, D, like in the same section. Cause especially if we're moving stuff around in the future, people move stuff around, you don't wanna have something moved and nobody catch it. So I'd be specific, referencing the stormwater runoff section.
Okay.
That's just me, I guess.
And we demonstrate compliance with requirements of stormwater runoff, and then name it then,
Yep, name it.
stormwater runoff. And
Just so Carol understands.
I was redoing my numbering. it didn't automatically go this time. Okay, so I've got the stormwater measure plan is number 4. Number 5 then is the soil maintenance plan below it. What did you want? Did you want to add something? I missed that.
Where it says requirements of, and then it says enter document location.
So requirements,
First paragraph of 4, or what used to be 4, so the soil maintenance plan, I think
Okay.
at the end, where where the printed version. I'm sure you already fixed something in there, but where the printed version says what the requirements of, enter document.
okay, so we did
So-
say listed below, but we don't want that.
See,
We want
requirements of stormwater management.
requirements, okay. Of the storm. Water,
And then everything after goes on to say, A says this plan shall, and then B says this plan shall, so that covers you for everything else that's under soil management.
management. Plan, ooh, this document, no,
All right,
fix it
we're
later.
gonna keep moving forward, folks. Or we over to page 20,
23,
23, at least.
I hope.
23D, that's where I was saying before, we should make that board of supervisors reference match the earlier section where it says solar access regulatory board.
We haven't used board of supervisors before this.
Says, let's see where is it? Section 3 on page 8 says pursuant to the code, the solar access regulatory board is hereby designed
Oh, designated,
to be the 5-member Tama County Board of Supervisors. And then everywhere else after that,
it
we
just
talk about the solar access regulatory board.
changed board of supervisors to solar access regulatory board.
Yes, on page 20.
so,
Page 23.
The.
And I think that's in case they ever change that section where it's no longer the board of
Okay.
supervisors.
Board of Supervisors off, yeah.
and what we're
The
calling
solar,
Solar access regulatory board.
solar access regulatory board.
With this.
I don't think we have that as an acronym here, I think I have to write that out.
I don't
Well,
think this does an acronym,
Okay,
sorry.
solar access regulatory board. Okay,
Who's you, okay.
okay. Before we go any further,
Yep,
we had, 'cause you and I kind of talked about this. So on 13, it says payment of required administrative fee as outlined in, and we didn't know how to.
Good.
We didn't know how to designate that, where it was at the time.
Oh, the administrative.
Yes,
Okay,
so we just put it there, it's in section C, it's letter G on page 26. That's
Which is not gonna
not.
work, is it?
just blank, so it was like, we need to insert their fee schedule. So is this the one-
Yeah,
is this payment that you're talking about here, the permitting fee after it's been approved, right? Not the application fee we were talking about last week?
I don't know. It sounds like this is the $2,500 upfront fee, the administrative fee.
Okay, because I don't know where section C letter.
Application fee, you mean?
Yeah.
well, section,
26.
I don't know.
Of the printed copies, you have the printed copy. So. And this might also be something you pulled over, because I don't remember seeing on an alphabet before that, it wasn't already in that number.
Maybe we don't even need 13 in there.
Oh, page 16, is that where you're at?
Oh, it was, okay, so it was page 26, hang on.
G,
Page 26.
I don't know, 25.
And some of the.
Yeah, bottom of page 25 is fee structure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this was,
The application fee.
Instead of administrative, all right?
So why don't we just drop the other one out?
Right, 13,
so 13, take it off.
Yeah.
take out
Okay.
15.
We also had, we have this sentence in here, says need to be in compliance with all Tama County solar ordinance. I'm not sure, that kind of just hangs there. I don't know what it's there for.
Where's that at?
It's right after what we just took out, that 13.
Oh.
We've had it in there for a long time because we were talking about something to do with it, but I don't remember what the conversation
It
was.
is kind of just stuck in there.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's eliminate that too.
Redundant.
So I'm not sure why we had it in there.
Do you want the fee structure on page 25 where it was, or do you want that moved up? Cause I feel like that needs to go earlier where you had it on page 60. Or that's a little,
It's under permits and I think it's kind of,
oh, way earlier, yeah, if you wait until the validity of the siting permit, you're talking about the application fee after they've already received their permit. So it feels out of order to me.
Where would you put it?
The application fee should be
At the
at
beginning?
the beginning, yeah. Cause I mean, this is already after the public hearing and vote and the validity of permits. So yeah, that needs to go
Where is
probably somewhere in.
where is the beginning?
yeah.
After definition, you
it's
mean?
on- Fee structure is on page 25. Unless you guys meant the fee structure on page 25 to be the permit fee after it's been approved, I could see that being there.
That's what, yeah,
And then the application fee that's highlighted in yellow needs to be.
that's gonna be based on the value of the property.
Right,
Yeah.
and I can show her where that's at on the website to copy that out.
So back to what Carol was saying, we're gonna scratch that line out.
Of that Tama County ordinance thing?
Yeah.
I think so. I think we put it there to, because we were thinking of something, we were talking about how, you know, we thought we had to have something in there that said everything needs to be in compliance, but I mean, if,
Scratch 13 and scratch need to be in compliance with all Tama
Yeah.
County solar ordinance, yes. Census,
I'd say leave 13, move all of what's written on page 25G. Number
13?
G, move that up to 13,
okay, hang on.
and then change what's in G to be the fee structure that's for an approved permit.
you gotta slow down, Laura.
Carol, where do you want me to start?
So 13, you said,
Payment of the required administrative fee,
I don't know what section it is,
but
but
it's page 23 of the printed copy, so it's right before it's a need to be in compliance with all Tama County solar ordinance that you're talking about.
okay,
So that would be the administrative fee would be everything you have highlighted in yellow under section G that says all applications for citing permit shall be accompanied by the payment of an administrative fee of $2,500 to Tama State County staff and officials for the application fee process. I could see that whole paragraph moving up to where you have 13.
so instead of 13, we put that paragraph there.
I mean,
Leave
still be number
13,
13.
still be number 13, but put that paragraph there,
Okay.
fee structure.
Okay. I
And
can do
then
that.
you can have a fee structure listed in G where we're pulling it from, but that would be the approved permit in G.
Okay, so hang on, Lift this up here.
Baby steps,
Well, this thing now is just moving.
yes, yes.
Remember to save.
I've been saving, every time I do one, I've been saving. Okay, so this will now be 13. So 13 is now fee structured. Does that sound right?
I would take out the term fee structure.
Okay, and
Uh,
just,
Start out with all
Payment of the
applications.
required administrative fee. You can have that as a header, or you can just have all applications for citing permits shall be accompanied. You can just take out the fee structure bold part, leave it as all
Okay.
applications for citing, that whole paragraph there is fine.
okay, so then,
So then back on page 25, or wherever you were at, where you pulled it from the G.
yes,
Fee structure,
and that's where we're gonna put in the schedule.
an approved permit requires a fee compliant with the Tama County zoning ordinance. So we can copy and paste it in here too if you want. It's
Okay,
on
what
the
did you
website.
just say?
An approved permit requires a fee payment compliant with the Tama County zoning ordinance. I don't know if you wanna do the full 1998 Tama County, whatever.
If you would like to fill that in later, you may.
Okay, do you have our Tama County website pulled up?
I do not have any internet here, so,
Okay.
If
Let me do
you-
a screenshot for you.
okay. You
Or
kind of tell me where to find it, I could put it in.
I can really put it. You said you don't have internet though, right? So you put it in later?
I can put it in later.
Okay, so,
I'll just kind of,
uh,
I'm assuming I'm going on tamacounty.gov.
it's Tama County spelled out .iowa.gov. And then it's zoning. And then there's an icon that says fee schedule.
All right,
And then there's a. It looks like this, so you know what you're looking at.
oh, okay,
Okay.
yep.
It's got weird formatting if you do a copy paste, so it just type it out.
I know. I hate working with Word.
So then, yeah, so G, where it said fee structure before, it'd still be fee structure, but it'd be all approved
Yeah,
zoning permits, or however you want to call the permit. Require a payment based on. I'm sure I'm rewording this from what we had before, based on the Tama County zoning ordinance. To be paid before certificates are issued.
okay,
I would also specify again that this is separate from any application administrative fee. Do you like calling it an administrative fee, or do you want to call it an application fee? Because in my head, it's still application, but I didn't know if that's confusing for anyone else.
It's paying for the administration of the permit.
Okay.
Yeah. So can we go to 26 yet?
Page 25 still, validity of permits, there's an approval by the board of supervisors. Which seems that probably it
Oh, yeah,
okay.
under F,
was under F.
and what do we call it again?
Solar,
Solar
reg-
access.
that's regulatory.
Regulatory.
okay.
So it's under F on the main paragraph, and then F1 is also listed.
Yes. Regulatory board. Okay.
Maybe 26. Road using this extension.
Works fine.
But it says, yeah, permit is denied, the board shall.
This extension steps there.
If the solar access.
Okay, so that one is,
To be,
That's C under,
Yeah, that is.
What page you on?
oh, okay. Should say solar access, okay. Solar access. That I do. Okay. All right. Got it for that one.
I have a slight concern about page 24, the public hearing and voting. It says within 60 days of submission of a complete siting permit. Oh, that also says board of supervisors.
I'll get that out of that.
Shall hold a public hearing regarding that. There's already. I could say getting one scheduled in 60 days, but having one in 60 days, you're working with schedules of everyone involved and then the public notification of newspaper timeline.
so we'll just say instead of shall hold one, shall schedule one?
I would be okay with that if you guys are okay with that, but I mean, I don't. put words, but I'm just
I
saying,
don't wanna, yeah, you don't.
based on trying to schedule other meetings,
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still within 60 days of submission of a complete site and permit application with site plan, the SARB, I wrote that out, but shall schedule a public hearing regarding the proposed SFES.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right, I saw another board for that, I need
Going
to.
to be the board, right, that.
But we're calling this
Solar board.
solar, access regulatory board or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the silver word for a minute.
I should send.
At the top of 26,
I hope so.
the road use agreement, that's another section, so that is section 6. We're in the top right now.
Should be.
It is nice that you have the board of supervisors holding that hearing and not the board of adjustment. So it feels like a large weight that would be on that voluntary board.
Right.
Okay, where are we at now?
Up to page 26.
Okay,
Road use agreement is section 6, so that's a section 6 road use agreement.
oh, this should say section 6?
Yeah, section 6 road use agreement.
Okay,
Oh, instead of 15.
Yeah, it is, yeah, well, that 15, I don't know where that came from.
oh, who knows,
This is a big one, a major section,
section
like
6.
decommissioning and road use agreement.
Okay,
Now, do we find anything wrong on page 26? Or any corrections? Put it that one, sorry. Can you tell my patience is starting to get a little thin?
it's okay.
Number 2, B2. Of the agreement. I don't know if of needs to go away or if we're missing it.
Yeah. Take out,
I think if it's just the agreement shall be accompanied, makes sense to me, unless you think you're missing section.
26.
Say that again?
B2 on page 26.
Okay.
It says, I think we just take out of, I don't
Yeah.
think you're missing anything.
We probably
Where were
changed
we?
something there.
Having the,
Then C, I'm not saying, okay, question mark. Bond requirements shall apply to the
Yeah, I
cost
see
estimates
that.
supplied by the developer as stipulated in where?
Yeah, that's another. Bone to pick, ain't it? See the bond completion from the center.
Because it's cost estimate of the road use.
Stipulated it. Why do we have that?
Because we pulled it over from another document and this is our document.
So we just put period after developer.
Cause I
And
don't
then
think
we go on to 1, 2, 3, 4, although the next page, maybe.
Developer colon, and then go.
Or colon, yeah. Better maybe. That makes sense, Carol?
I think so.
Following requirements shall apply to the cost estimates applied by the developer, colon. Then we go to all those enumerated things on page 27.
There you go.
Or just cost estimates. And then you go to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, it's a 7:45. I don't know if you wanna keep going and just try to knock it out to page 36, 37, or if you want to continue this with a future meeting. I just wanna make move where the time.
Patient are you folks? You wanna keep going and knock it out?
I don't care.
I don't care.
on the road use agreement, wasn't there some place in there where they had to have? Is that where we're gonna have the 300% or
I think it's coming, but. Okay. 28. That financial security.
okay,
Number 2.
So anywhere where it says Board of Supervisors, do we need to take that out and put the,
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Another one.
yeah.
So that's on 3 here.
Yeah,
Let's say everyone except the first one, so don't just do a wholesale and
yeah.
change. For back under cost estimate 2C of the road use agreement, do you want to add the specification, the cost estimate of the road repair or of the, just so if you're doing like a word search and you come across cost estimate, you're like, cost estimate of what? And then you have to scroll out of find road system. Um,
Would you suggest? Or instead of.
I don't know, I guess if you move number 4 up to number 1. That kind of gives you the definition. The cost estimate shall encompass the total cost of any and all repairs necessary to return the roadway and all of their impacted infrastructure to the condition that have been placed. And then we move on to say at their expense, they'll do the cost estimate.
It kind of addresses that under financial security on the next page. It talks about, how they're gonna pay and what.
Well, I was just thinking moving up a definition closer to cost estimate where you first start
Oh,
talking about it.
okay.
Put number 4. Or if it's cost estimate. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, I guess, sorry.
So instead of saying about the cost estimate for under C, is that what you're talking about? Instead of
Yeah.
saying,
Or maybe just
Okay,
letter C for cost estimates, say the following requirements shall apply to the cost estimate of road repairs.
Where was
Or
that,
road
where was it saying
conditions
that's referring to? Where did it say that? As referred,
of road use agreement negotiations. I don't know. You could,
yeah,
Just like-
cost estimate. Supplied by the developer as stipulated in road use agreement, and this is in the application process. Says road use agreement outlined in this agreement, along with financial security guarantees payment with road repairs and infrastructure. And this is in the application procedure,
Back on 22.
number 9, so that's is in stipulated in.
I take it back, leave it with the semicolons.
Permitting and review procedure.
Yeah, another opinion.
And then permitting and review procedure, they stipulate that you will have the cost estimate and so on. And so that's what this is. In the road use agreement, it says you'll have the cost estimate is stipulated in the permitting and review procedure.
That's what you would put in there? Permitting and review procedure? That was the call?
Or stipulated in. That's, number 9, permitting.
I'm getting there.
I was talking to a call actually way back here up to earlier when we talked about permitting.
But that's where
I just need to know,
it's stipulated in.
To do.
I just need to know where the.
Should we take a 5-minute break or 10-minute break? Keep going.
Well,
I don't.
About right now?
You're
Yeah.
thinking about clearly tonight.
$2.
He hit his head. That means,
Maybe we should stop at this, on page 26 cost estimate.
Okay, so did you just change something now that I did?
No,
Okay,
we're just talking about it.
discussing it, yeah.
oh, that, got it.
Okay, bottom of 26, from there on.
We'll start at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Carol, if you want to send me a Word doc version of what all you changed tonight.
It may
I
not
could
be
work on
bottom
it
26 this
or
year,
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay up tonight.
All right,
Road use agreements, that's what we're at.
we'll start there next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah,
Well, I thought we could.
We're getting there.
Sorry, I feel like I might have heard more than help with a bunch.
No, I mean, we really are pretty far. We just have that much.
I can't believe you're keeping up with it. That's it.
All right.
She's doing a great job.
We're going to likely, what, Doug, I'll let you lead, but.
We were talking about,
F and G,
pardon me?
like we skip F and G on the agenda.
Yeah. We'll put that down to next meeting's agenda.
You want to officially table that or just say?
I think we need to table it on our agenda.
No action to be correct.
No,
Okay,
whatever we did in reviewing the utility scale ordinance,
that's plenty for me.
we'll discuss and define community solar at our next meeting if we get that far.
I think we should, because I mean, there's really not that much left.
No,
There really is.
Okay, and what about next meeting, does the third Wednesday of July work for you, Steve, or is that out?
the third,
Third Wednesday is, what is it?
It's the 16th.
60.
16th, that'll work for me.
Works for you?
Yep.
Carol, works for you?
Yep, I'll be back.
So let's set our next meeting for July 16th.
That'll work for
Everybody, I think.
public.
And then I wanted to bring this up. Or do I wanna bring it up? Should we try to meet third Wednesdays of August and September? Is that a possibility? Laura was bringing up the fact that it costs $50 every time she puts in a notice, and if we could.
48 and change, but yeah.
Around $50. Yeah, if you can look ahead to your,
So August, it'd be August
20th.
And then September would be the 17th.
20th. No,
alright, what about anybody else?
Carol wasn't very hard to follow along with. All I know is a little glitchy.
It would, when they kind of were having overlapping conversations, you can't hear it very well. And
Hell, it's hard to do that in here.
yeah.
it just,
With only
it
four of us.
has kind of a tinny sound, you know, like, I don't know how to describe it.
Well, we don't have to say the third of week
Yeah.
or month. We could pick the next few dates based on your schedule.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
do one public
And
post.
actually, I'm pretty good. I mean,
Multiple meetings.
starting, but as long as it's, you know, 6
Most
o'clock
of the
at
time
night,
it's
it's
good,
fine.
but we got a trip planned.
That's August, right? We
Yeah,
said.
August.
I do need to double check with Karen for sure if we can do that, especially if we're on the final one where you guys vote to send it to the supervisors, but that's not a hearing on your part. So I don't think it would be that special. I mean, I'll include it on the agenda when the agenda posts. But since you guys don't need to hold a public hearing for that, I don't know that we would need a specified date. I'll have to double check out to be sure.
So you said you couldn't the 20th.
August, we're gonna be in Ireland.
That's
That's
Going over to watch the Iowa State play at the Oakley.
You're gonna
Most of
be,
the people that are going to-
I'm gonna be in Ireland the week before that.
Really?
Yeah, right.
Mom's going to Ireland this summer too.
Should we just wait until July 16th to set our next date? Come to that?
Well, it kind of sounds like we can't really meet in August.
So do you wanna do like the first Wednesday of September, the third, or is that still running into holiday or traveling for summer?
Wednesday, September 3rd.
It'll be the first week of September.
First week of September.
What is, I think this year, yeah, we'll be all right there, I think.
I should be okay there, yeah.
Or what about Labor Day plans? Do you have anything on September 3rd, Wade?
Does Labor Day usually run a whole week or you do?
No. I gotta expect it, I think, next year. Getting ahead of myself.
I mean, unless you wanna do another one at the end of July, I mean, we did 2 weeks between these last two.
I am gone at the end of July.
Okay. And it doesn't have to be Wednesday in the summer. I know
That's
Monday
true.
work better for you with.
That's
school
true.
year.
And really, in the school year, it just depends on what's going on. I mean, it doesn't have to be Wednesday during the school year. If I don't have parent teacher conference or something, it could be any, as long as it's 6 o'clock at night, it's not a big deal.
So how many more, you're out the rest of July though, right, Carol, for after the 16th or somebody? is?
No, I'm just gone the next 2 weeks.
So what does the 23rd or the 30th of July look like for anybody?
23rd, I'm going.
He's gone
The
23rd.
30th, would that work? 2
I'm
weeks?
gone.
30th,
You're-
I'll be back, but.
But you'll be
But I'm-
gone? What about a different,
August, you're all going all.
Well.
what about a
okay.
different day in
August,
July?
I'm just on the, I'll leave the 18th.
Actually, no, the 30th, I will be back. I'm in overnight thing. So I will be back, yeah. So when I do 30th, I will be back.
Should we try that?
30th of July.
30th of July, 2 weeks apart?
Oh,
Wanna look at it when you get home and let us know? Or let Laura, or let me know, and I'll let Laura.
I just need to post for the one on the 16th by Friday.
This
So
Friday.
just let me know by like 11 AM on Friday.
Send out an email and then everybody can,
Okay.
So we're gonna do the 16th and then we're gonna try to do the 30th.
yeah.
I was thinking I wouldn't be here, but, I'm just
Well-
going overnight, so we'd be back by.
Cause that way, if
30th of July, are we open? 16th and 30th. Yeah.
16th and 30th, yes, is what we're looking at.
Yes. Look, 16 and 30 July both. Okay? And 30.
So I was telling Doug, I'm like, we can always, set up meetings if we wanted to plan for 2 months. We have all these
Okay.
ones that have moratoriums now. And then if we need to cancel one, we can always cancel one without it. I don't need any public notice to cancel.
Tyson.
So we could, like Marshall County, they have on their calendar every 2 weeks, there's only board meetings. I don't say we have to do every 2 weeks, if you wanna do like the
Right.
first and the third, and then if it's a 5-week month, you get an extra week off.
Yeah.
And then if we have to cancel any, I just, put that on the website that it's canceled.
Okay. All right.
Once we get this done and make the other start, be a
little less
Then we'll be
pressure.
in the school year.
Yeah,
Then we'll be in the harvest. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if we
15,
set
16,
up multiple.
17.
Oh, so that's our next one, okay.
Hold on, wait,
17.
or,
Oh, I understand that.
You good info.
A few minutes ago.
Would you guys be opposed to a Monday night meeting?
Yes.
I know it's summer, sometimes that's on, so the 4 of you do Monday. And then you're sitting on 15. Does that work for everybody?
Does Mondays work for you, or did you say no?
I think it did, that, just, we gotta make sure, there's, one day I'm gonna be gone 3 days, that.
14th, or what do you got for 14th, see, July 14th?
Let me look at, talk on that.
July 14th?
Yeah,
You're talking about doing instead of the 16th.
right,
Yeah.
cause Wade has a conflict.
Oh, yes, okay. I can do the 14th.
Okay,
Be weird on
Can you
Monday,
though?
we can do it.
yes, yeah, that's fine.
So move it to the 14th, then, right?
Well,
He's gonna check. That's the
I don't have.
third Monday is the 21st. What? Yeah, but that's first.
I can't get this damn thing to work.
Hang in there, keep trying.
Send it around, and we'll find something that works.
There's 3 days in that week I'm going, not sure. 15, 16, 17, or 14, 15, 16.
How about y'all get me your dates the week of the 14th through 18th, what will work? And then confirm if the 30th will work. And we'll just do those two together
Yeah.
for public notice if we can.
I'll find out when I get home tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I'll need to know by like 11 on this Friday. Get that posted. All right. We're not setting an actual date. We've got a couple chosen. We'll get back to that.
The week of the third week of July.
I wouldn't be opposed to making a couple of meetings a week if you wanted to,
Yeah.
when everybody's available now.
All right,
You
I'm
know,
hoping, I don't know if we get this done with one more meeting, I don't.
I don't know either.
All
right.
I would need a little time between for me to get all the formatting and the spell checking. And then you would want to vote on the final one before to make sure that I didn't accidentally take something out or you didn't check something that you thought you knew
You are
before.
gonna do that.
No,
Well, no, not on purpose,
I know, I'm just.
but if you catch
Oh,
something you didn't know before.
I get where, these documents get touchy after a while, you can just hit something and it's gone and.
Go on.
Yeah, so I mean, or,
That's why you've been saying that
something
for
like,
us.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait, that doesn't actually make sense anymore, So I would say we need at least one more to finish reviewing and then some time for me to clean it up for you. And then one more after that to do your final, yes, let's vote. But in between, we can start working on the community solar. You have some research materials available to you. Let me know if you need help finding anything else. And then, I was thinking you could either decide to completely move forward with the community solar, or if you wanted to do more research, you could start working on, start with community solar and come up with a draft similar to how you guys started with utility scale. So you're not starting word for word.
Yeah,
And then while I'm working on that, you guys could jump to the next thing we have a moratorium on, I think it's the wind. And that would be starting with an existing one as well, because we do have a wind ordinance. We just,
It's gonna get easier, it's just, we gotta get through this one.
so yeah, just so we're not stalled out while I'm trying to get you guys a draft
So
for,
we're down for the 30th, it sounds like, and we're gonna check with you
Try to get on.
that week of the 14th or the 18th or whatever it is.
okay.
All right,
Let me
go
know
ahead.
by Friday so I can get that in the paper on Friday.
The 14th good for everybody else?
That whole week's.
As long as it works for you.
Yeah.
You let Laura know when you get, after you get home or whatever.
yeah.
Go ahead, motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
I'm second, you second.
We have 2 seconds.
So, we'll
Carol's motion and
go with Steve first.
meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned at 8:02.
Time flies when you're having fun, don't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys.
It was good though. We got a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.